Hello, and welcome to the 4th Annual Kabuki Syndrome Research Conference. My name is Janet Lee, and I'm the Executive Director of the Kabuki Syndrome Foundation. I'm also mom to Emily, who has Kabuki Syndrome. I am so honored to be in the presence of you all today. I'm excited to announce that we have over 400 registered attendees from over 31 countries, showing that we are truly a global community with tremendous potential to support our children and family members with Kabuki syndrome. I'm just going to share my screen. Before we begin, there are a few announcements. First, a very special thank you to our conference platinum sponsors, the Singeri Family Foundation and the Steve Paquette Memorial Fund, as well as our presidential sponsors, Horizon Genomics and the Knights of Columbus. You can learn more about these sponsors in the navigation menu. Just a few quick platform updates. While we do encourage live participation to get the most out of your experience today, we understand that you may need to hop on and off, which is fine. Please reference the agenda to help with planning your participation. The sessions will be recorded and will be available for viewing after the conference. Also, please take advantage of our engagement opportunities today. Use our chat messaging features, and don't forget to join us for the meet and greet breakout rooms. This conference is our largest fundraising event, and I'm excited to share that just this morning, another generous donor has agreed to match up to $50,000, which means that we have 2 donors participating in the match program. If we make our $100,000 goal, that would be doubled to $200,000, which could support a targeted grant across institutions. Please activate your community and help us reach our goal. Again, for those of you who are new to Kabuki Syndrome Foundation, we're comprised of 6 board members, 2 staff members, volunteer advisors, and our external scientific advisory board. You will see most of us at some point throughout the day today. We are all united in the mission of driving research efforts that can lead to treatments for those diagnosed with Kabuki syndrome. We have an impressive network of researchers located at elite institutions globally, along with relationships with global patient advocacy leaders. Coupled with opportunities to partner with biotech and pharmaceutical companies, we continue to grow our collaborative research network. Our mission is supported by 3 core strategies. First, we support centers of excellence like Roya Kabuki Program and Johns Hopkins University and Kennedy Krieger Institute. We are also enabling collaborations across global institutions by breaking down silos and engaging and activating a patient community who drives research. We have focused our efforts the last year on 2 goals. First, defining and driving a therapeutic roadmap. How can we further support identifying and investigating therapies that help those with Kabuki syndrome? Are there existing drugs that can be used for Kabuki syndrome? This morning, Dr. Olaf Bodemer will provide an update on the Roya Kabuki program's drug screening efforts on identifying viable candidates for Kabuki syndrome. Which pathways are being explored to address the symptoms? Dr. Hans Bjornsson and Dr. Jackie Harris will discuss clinical trials in the pipeline and the pathways they target. Are there other types of therapies to explore? As a foundation, we don't want to just support research, we want to drive it. And we're actively exploring diverse therapeutic options for the community. It is such an exciting time for our community. There have been many advancements over the last 5 years with promising preclinical data on potential drug candidates. But we can't identify a candidate and not be prepared to put them into a clinic. So how do we prove that these therapeutics improve the lives of our kids and adults with Kabuki syndrome? Our research community has been working with various animal models that characterize details of the gene and can validate viable therapeutic candidates in things like iPSC cells or mice or C. elegans, which are roundworms. How are we identifying druggable targets, and what does that even mean? This means we need something that can measure a treatment response during a clinical trial. Researchers at Roya Kabuki Program and Kennedy Krieger Institute will discuss their efforts in this area later this afternoon. Understanding the natural history of Kabuki syndrome is also a goal, and researchers need to understand how the disease progresses over time, which requires patient recruitment across institutions. In rare neurological clinical trials, the chance of success is 18%. However, if there's a biomarker that measures a treatment response for Kabuki syndrome, the chance of success increases to 40%. There are steps that we can actively take as a community to ensure a greater chance of clinical trial success. So how have we as a foundation supported clinical trial readiness? Well, first, we identified what matters to you as patients and parents. We've qualified over 200 crowdsourcing surveys to better understand community needs. We know that neurology is the #1 area of concern. If you're interested in seeing the results from our crowdsourcing surveys, please do reference the navigation menu. And how do we use this information? Well, we wanted to see if these needs were being addressed by the current research landscape. Last year, Corinne Stovall, our KSF research advisor, performed a research scoping exercise so we could ID gaps and opportunities based on community needs. Fast forward to today, Corinne is supporting Dr. Sid Bonka's work with developing clinical management guidelines, which will be discussed during one of the breakout sessions today. I'm also excited to share that the KSF team is working with Dr. Brittany Simpson and co-publishing a 2023 State of the Science that will outline the research landscape in a centralized document. Dr. Simpson will be joining us this morning to discuss this effort. Our crowdsourcing effort also provided community data, which supports the expansion of an existing clinical trial, which Dr. Jackie Harris will discuss later this afternoon. So how are we working to support clinical trials? We're so excited to announce that earlier this year, we awarded a $125,000 grant toward the development of a neurological assessment that can be used across institutions during clinical trials, so we can measure cognitive and behavior changes during and after treatment. This grant was so important because it also supported patient recruitment, which enabled data and sample collection. We are also currently recruiting for patient families to support the development of a Kabuki Syndrome Clinical Global Impression Scale, which would measure the overall impact of symptoms and treatments during clinical trials. We're also in the early stages of creating a global patient directory for easier access to patient and families interested in participating in research. So what's next for us? Well, we continue to explore how to enable collaboration, and we're looking at how we can support shared data across institutions. While our researchers have identified biomarker candidates, validating them will require significant investment and resources at each institution and patient participation. And we are always constantly exploring different types of treatments and partnerships with biotech companies. We must have options that address a diverse set of patient needs. So how can we as a community support clinical trial readiness? Well, developing assessments that measure change over time is a really great place to start. As noticed, KSF funded one for neurological assessments at one institution. We need more assessments in other areas that can be validated across institutions, and our researchers can't develop them without patient involvement. Are there other outcome measures to explore? While potential biomarker candidates have been identified, they need to be validated, which requires patient participation and funding. Patient recruitment is necessary for the collection of data and samples. On the navigation menu, you'll find a folder titled Research Recruitment. Please explore these options for you and your family to participate. Being clinical trial ready requires a significant investment in resources at each of our institutions. Funding resources can include postdoc salaries and lab supplies, which range between $80,000 and $100,000 per institution per year. Join us in reaching our fundraising goal today of $100,000. Again, we're so excited to have two donors, very generous donors, who are participating in matching these donations up to $50,000. So we can turn that $100,000 into $200,000, which would support a targeted grant across institutions. Please activate your community and help us reach our goal. The conference today has been designed to educate and activate the patient community in supporting clinical trial readiness, focusing on these 5 themes, many of which were discussed previously. We recently received a very kind note from a father of a child with Kabuki syndrome, which said, "Last year's conference was the catalyst that turned me from an onlooker to my son's condition into an amateur medical sleuth who believes there's a chance I could make a difference through learning about Kabuki syndrome. We hope that others in the community will be motivated to take a more active role in supporting research that can treat symptoms of Kabuki syndrome. We very much look forward to providing you a meaningful experience today.